Fleet managers running BMW courtesy cars knew about this one before the forums caught up. Independent BMW shops in Germany were quietly logging the same failure pattern by 2014, 2 full years before anyone in the United States started openly talking about it. Service writers at independent shops would hear the symptom over the phone, ask one specific question about cold starts, and already know what the bill was going to look like. They knew which engine. They knew which mileage band. They even knew which component on that engine was the actual culprit, even though every owner who walked in was convinced it was something else entirely. And here's the part that still bothers me. Most BMW dealerships even today will quote you a job that addresses the symptom without addressing the actual root cause. So you pay, the noise goes away for a while, and then 6 months later, you're back. There's a reason the indie crowd has been chuckling at this for the better part of a decade. The cause isn't what's printed on the repair order, it's something quieter. Something plastic. Something that sits in a place most owners will never see until it's already in pieces in their oil pan. Let me walk you through what's actually happening inside the BMW N20. The N20 is BMW's 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. You'll find it in the 2012 through 2016 320i and 328i sedans, the X1S Drive 28i, and the X3 X-Drive 28i crossovers, and the Z4 S-Drive 28i Roadster. It replaced the naturally aspirated inline-6 in the 28i lineup. And on paper, it was a brilliant engine. Direct injection, twin-scroll turbo, Valvetronic, strong torque down low. BMW marketed it as a more efficient future, and for the first 40,000 miles or so, most owners loved it. Smooth, quick, surprisingly economical when you stayed out of boost. Then the cold start started getting noisy. Not loud, not dramatic, just a little tickle at the front of the engine for the first 3 or 4 seconds. Then it'd quiet down and drive perfectly. Most owners ignored it. Most service advisors told them it was normal. And that's where the trouble began, because here's what almost nobody told those owners. It's not the chain. The timing chain itself, the actual metal links wrapped around the sprockets, is generally fine. The documented failure pattern shows the real issue lives a few inches away. It's the chain guides. The plastic rails that the chain rides against to keep it tracking properly. On the N20, those guides become brittle over time, particularly when the engine sees a lot of short trips and cold starts where the oil never fully comes up to temperature. The plastic gets hard, it gets stressed, it starts cracking, and then little chunks of plastic start coming off and floating around in the oil pan. Once the guide structure starts breaking apart, the chain loses its proper tension. The hydraulic tensioner that's supposed to keep everything tight tries to compensate, but it can only extend so far. So the chain starts slapping. That's your cold start rattle. That's the early warning. That's the moment when fixing this is still a $300 problem instead of a $9,000 problem. Let me describe the rattle precisely, because this is where a lot of owners go wrong. It happens almost exclusively on a cold start, after the car has sat overnight or longer. The first 3 seconds, sometimes the first 5, you get this metallic whirring sound from the front passenger side of the engine. It's not a knock. It's not deep. It's a higher pitched chatter, almost like a sewing machine that's a little out of adjustment. Then the oil pressure builds, the tensioner extends, the chain pulls tight, and the noise vanishes. Drive the car all day, and you'd swear nothing's wrong. Park it overnight, start it up the next morning, and there it is again. That fade-out behavior is the giveaway. A bad chain that's truly stretched will rattle constantly. A failing guide system rattles only until the tensioner catches up. If you ignore that rattle long enough, 2 things happen. First, the plastic debris in the oil pan starts circulating. Even with a good filter, fine particles get past, and they do nothing good for your bearings, your Vanos solenoids, or your oil pressure sensor. Second, the guides eventually fail catastrophically. When a guide finally cracks all the way through and falls out of position, the chain has nowhere to ride. It can skip a tooth on the cam sprocket. In the worst case, on an interference engine like this one, the valves and pistons meet. That's when you're looking at a $7,000 to $12,000 engine replacement, depending on whether you go used, remanufactured, or new from BMW. I've seen quotes on both ends of that range, and I've seen people who walked away from otherwise nice cars because the math just didn't work. Here's where the good news comes in. BMW knew. BMW figured this out fairly early in the production run, and they quietly released a revised guide and tensioner kit. The updated revision uses a different plastic compound and slightly different geometry on the guide rails, and the tensioner itself was updated to a sturdier internal design. If you're shopping parts, you'll see this referenced under part numbers in the 113117 series, with the updated tensioner often listed under 113175, 87101, or a closely related supersession. I'd recommend confirming the exact superseded part number with your VIN at a BMW parts counter or through an indie shop, because BMW has revised these components more than once, and the right part for your specific build date matters. The updated kit tends to extend chain life significantly when installed before the original guides have shattered. Now let's talk cost, because this is the part that decides what most people do. If you're an experienced DIYer with a well-equipped garage, the parts for a full guide and tensioner refresh on the N20 run roughly $200 to $400 for the kit, depending on whether you go genuine BMW, OEM supplier like INA or iWis, or a quality aftermarket bundle. That's just parts. The labor is where this job gets serious, and I want to be straight with you. This is not a weekend driveway job for somebody who's only ever changed brakes. To do this properly, you need to pull the front cover. That means draining coolant, dropping the lower belt path, removing the upper timing cover, locking the cams in position with the proper BMW tool, kit, releasing the tensioner safely, and then reassembling everything to factory torque specs without losing your timing reference. Get any of that wrong, and you're back to the engine replacement scenario. This is indie shop, or experienced DIYer territory. If you've never timed an engine before, this is not the engine to learn on. If you take it to a BMW dealer, you're typically looking at $1,800 to $3,200 for the full guide, tensioner, and chain replacement, sometimes higher if they recommend cam sprockets or oil pan cleaning at the same time. A reputable independent BMW specialist can often do the same job for $1,200 to $1,800, and many of them have done dozens of these and know exactly which updated parts to use. That's a real number compared to a $9,000 engine. So even at indie shop pricing, the math overwhelmingly favors fixing this before it lets go. Now here's the part where you absolutely have to do your homework before you spend $1. BMW extended the warranty on N20 and N26 chain components in some cases, and there was a class action settlement related to these timing chain issues that resolved in the United States. I'm not going to give you a legal interpretation of that settlement, because the terms vary by model, mileage, original ownership, and several other factors, and I'm not your attorney. What I will tell you is this: before you pay a dime out of pocket, pull your VIN through BMW's official recall and service campaign lookup on their website, and call BMW North America Customer Relations directly. Ask specifically about any extended warranty, goodwill coverage, or settlement-related coverage on the timing chain components for your VIN. Some owners have had partial or full coverage applied even outside the original window. Others have had nothing offered. It depends on a lot of factors, but you will never know unless you ask, and asking is free. I've seen owners save thousands just by making that one phone call before booking the repair. There are a few other tells worth knowing about. If you're suspicious about your own car, do an oil change yourself and look carefully at what comes out of the drain plug. If you see small plastic fragments, anything that looks like little tan, or black flakes that aren't sludge, that's almost certainly guide material. Also pay attention to your scan tool data. Timing correlation codes, particularly anything in the 2A82, 2A87, or related family on BMW's coding, can indicate the chain is starting to retard relative to the cam position. Catch a code like that early, and you're still in fixable territory. Ignore it, and you're rolling dice with every cold start. One more thing about prevention. Short trip driving is the worst possible diet for this engine. If your N20 spends most of its life on 5-mile commutes, where it never gets fully up to temperature, the oil suffers, the plastic guides suffer, and the failure window compresses. Longer drives, regular oil changes on the shorter end of BMW's recommended interval, and a good full synthetic oil that meets BMW's LL001 or LL004 spec all tend to push the failure point further out. None of that makes the guides immortal, but it can buy you meaningful time, and meaningful time on this engine is the difference between a planned repair at your Indy shop and an unplanned tow to the dealer. So here's the bottom line on this engine. The N20 is a perfectly good motor with one specific weak point that BMW addressed quietly with revised parts that the Indy community has known about for years, and that any 2012 to 2016 320i, 328i, X1, X3, or Z4 owner needs to take seriously the moment they hear that cold start rattle. Catch it early, fix it with the updated revision, and you can run these engines well past 150,000 miles. Ignore it, and you're playing a game you don't want to play. This whole situation is a case study in how an automaker can know about a problem, quietly engineer a fix, and still leave thousands of owners in the dark for years, while independent shops carry the institutional knowledge. The repair is real, the fix exists, the cost gap between catching it and missing it is enormous, and the only person responsible for getting your VIN looked up and your service records reviewed is you. If you own one of these cars, or you're shopping for a used 28i, what's your next move on this? Are you pulling your VIN tonight to check for any open campaigns? Or have you already heard the rattle and you're trying to decide between dealer and Indy? Tell me what you're working with, because the right answer depends entirely on where your specific car is in the failure timeline.